Hey, Detroit Bob, I'm back out in the wild, and I love rescuing vinyl records from the trash heap. And let's face it, every day, thousands of LPs, 45s, cassettes, 8-tracks, CDs, all this physical media is being thrown away. And the one little last gasp they have is the Goodwill bin. So I like going there and saving these little gems from destruction. It's not the end of the world, but at one point there were thousands and millions of copies of these things floating around, and they're being thrown away. People are downsizing. They don't have space to store all this stuff. People are streaming more and more, and it doesn't take a lot of space to store 70,000 LPs, if you will, on a hard drive. So what you're going to see, and what you are seeing, is potentially the end of physical media. But I don't think you're seeing the end of the collectability part of it. And you might not go to the record store and buy LPs forever. But there's something to be said about digging these things out of bins and saving them from the dump. And that's what I'm going to do today. Now, this week, we're also back up at RPM Records, and we're picking up where we left off with the letter I. And I'm looking for soul, but specifically Northern Soul. Now, I know a lot of you guys have said, oh, you're not going to find any. Other people are like, love it, keep going. But somewhere in between those two extremes, I've done pretty well. I think I got at least a dozen or two Northern Soul top 500 hits out of the regular bins at RPM Records. So there you go. Have a great day. Let's keep it going. Welcome back to RockMine, and I finally got it. You remember we did 2 episodes in Italy, and Radiation Records, I went to the wrong one. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to get a couple more of those 45s from Italy. So stay tuned for this episode. At the end, we'll go through it. RPM Records back again. And I see Cade is at the front desk. We buy records. Yes, we do. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going, Bobby?
Back in for letter I.
There you go, man.
Gonna keep rolling. I finally hit my 1,000 viewers.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so that's cool. And of course, all the British guys, they love the 45s.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna go back and pick up where I left off. How's it going, man?
Back there.
I don't think we met.
I'm Jay.
Detroit Bob.
Hey, what's up, Detroit?
What do you do here?
Whatever needs done.
Find any old 45s, sling them my way.
Oh man, if I don't get them first.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time back there.
Yeah, check out my show too. It's called RockMine. It's on YouTube, and I'm working A through Z, and I'm on letter I. Now,
Nice.
like I said, the British guys love it, so they're just all.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time back there.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Cool. Do you do more LPs or more?
I'm a DJ, so I do
Okay.
mostly 45s. I'm
Awesome.
not too old to lug around the big ones anymore.
Where do you DJ at?
Little Fleet on Wednesdays. I'll be there tonight, actually. I'm
Okay.
filling in for somebody. Wherever, weddings and stuff sometimes.
Oh, you're doing a private party tonight? Or?
No, I'm at the Little Fleet tonight.
Okay.
8 to
Will you
12.
you got like a double deck with 45s slinging or 12-inch or what?
Hey, all vinyl, I do
Yeah.
CDs, some
That's cool.
tapes, all kinds of stuff.
Or maybe I'll stop by and check it out.
Pop in, man. It's
All right,
time.
sounds cool. There you go, DJ Dusty Staircase. Little Fleet is a place where they have fleets of food trucks. So this guy's doing it right. And right there with DJ Dusty Staircase. So we're going to check it out tonight. And we'll get you from the record store to a place where the records are being played live. So cool. I'm going to set up over here today. So I'm going to move that around. And like I said, we got the letter I. And there you go, Ian and Sylvia. But now I want to take a break and pull my sheet. Now I'm going to try to talk continuously through this whole search. And I'll tell you why. These songs that they play at record stores in the background, they get picked up by the computers at YouTube. And they nail you for copyright violations. For, a known song playing in the background. Now, I thought about putting earphones on because the earphones actually work like a microphone and they pick up your stuff. So before we look at this, I would normally put the earphones on, but of course I forgot them today. Let's try this out here. Some of the stuff I like to collect is 80s. And I really like Ice House. I love this song, Electric Blue. I think they were Australian. This looks like a nice clean copy. The guy had a great voice. I think one of their songs might have been No Promises. My obsession. Electric Blue was sort of very poppy. Touch the Fire. Hey Little Girl, that's a good one. So definitely an Aussie band that made it big. That's a little scratched. Hey Little Girl's a great song. These all look played. They might have come out of a jukebox. But I think this band could have been as big as like In Excess. And they did get a lot of airplay on MTV. I remember that. And then just dropped off the face of the earth. You know, once the Nirvana hit, all the 80s stuff just disappeared. Everybody from The Cure on down. And that's what a big impact grunge had. It just reset the table. So all of a sudden, some old VJ Frank Ifield. Okay. He came out just before the Beatles. Remember VJ 498, my holy grail, was on this exact same label. And there's VJ 477 by Frank Ifield. So they were trying to say that Frank Ifield was going to be the next big thing, and he sort of flopped. And so nobody was crazy about signing the Beatles. Just because, you know, 4 guys from Liverpool, you know, come on. Frank Ifield didn't make it, so why should they, right? Let's see what we got here. Illusion. Impressions. Impalas. Ides of March, their big hit Vehicle. It's a great song. And if you look close, Petrovic, he shows up later as the lead singer and writer for Survivor. And if you remember, they had the big hit off the Rocky movie, Eye of the Tiger. So yes, Ides of March with Jim Petrovic, Chicago guy, believe it or not. So there's an obscure trivia answer for you. I do get called on occasion from people that are drunk at bars and they're doing music trivia night. And somehow they say, let's call DetroitBob. So 1 a.m, I'll get a call. You know, who sang Italia? Donnie Iris. So there you go. Mine's the name of the show. We're doing letter I. Already got a pretty cool interview with DJ Dusty Staircase. We're hopefully going to catch some of his show tonight. And we're moving on this Northern Soul list that somebody sent me. And we're just going to go right on into the impressions. And now they have their own tab, so that's a good sign. And I've got a lot of impressions. Everybody knows the impressions because of Curtis Mayfield. And, you know, when you walk into your hairdresser's and she's only 30 years old and she's spinning Curtis Mayfield, and that's a good sign. But Jerry Butler is the guy I like. He's got the more deeper soul voice. So, and you see Curtis Mayfield showing up in the credits on all these. Kurtdom was sort of the later label. The earlier labels, I think they were on ABC. It's All Right was their big song. You would know it if you heard it. Gypsy Woman. People Get Ready was really their biggest hit. Everybody knows that one. There's a Train a-Comin'. Word has it that Bob Marley used to listen to the Impressions down in Jamaica, as you know, growing up, because there was just enough radio to get from the southern part of Florida down into the Caribbean. And later on, Marley and the boys covered an Impressions song, One Love, I think it was. Maybe not. No, I think they did People Get Ready. One Love was an original. All right, I'm looking for the Impressions, You've Been Cheating on Me, or simply You've Been Cheating, right there. And that's on ABC Paramount. So let's go back and look through again. It could be a B-side. A lot of these Northern Soul, they weren't hits here. They just played really well in the casinos and the DJs in Northern England at these all-night dance parties in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But we're looking for You Ain't Cheatin'. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. You've Been Cheatin'. A great version of the old Southern spiritual Amen. If you haven't heard the Impressions version of that, check it out. My mom used to sing that on Sunday mornings. She'd get up and do her rendition of Amen. Long, long winter. And we're looking for You've Been Cheating. I Loved and I Lost. Up, Up and Away. Jim Webb. That was Up and Away was a Fifth Dimension hit. You're So Right for Me. Impressions show up on a lot of different labels. Here you go. The Impressions featuring Jerry Butler. Jerry Butler just passed away. And he went on to become like a Chicago legend. He went into politics and held office for well over 20 years. Loved me. But when you talk about the Impressions, everybody thinks of Curtis Mayfield, who went on to do Superfly. That was a big one as a kid that we all... Superfly, and that was featured in one of the blaxploitation movies, they call them. I'm the One Who Loves You. I Need Your Love. You Want Me Back. It's All Right. That's the big one. And Tim's the guy, but DJ Dusty's really the other guy that I think brings in a little bit more collector's sensibility to how these racks are stacked. So I think they're a good 1-2 punch to man this room. And I was impressed with the fact that these bins are getting restocked on a regular basis. So by the time I get to Z, I'll probably be able to start all over again and just have a fresh new palette, if that makes sense. All right, let's move on. Here we are, DetroitBob. Name of the show is RockMine. We're back here at RPM Records. This is my go-to place every time I come up to Traverse, and we've probably done a dozen episodes here, and you guys seem to like it. I'm marching through the alphabet, and we're on letter I, and I'm using this Northern Soul list that a viewer sent me, and we just looked through the Impressions. There's going to be some groups in here that you've never heard of, that I've never heard of, but that's okay. They might not have their own bin, but then at the end of the letter, they'll have a miscellaneous bin, and we'll work our way through that also. So let's see here. The Impressions, the Imaginations, Information, Ink Spots. Well, there's James Ingram, but we're looking for Luther Ingram. Who knows? Maybe they were related. James Ingram was bigger more in the 80s. sort of a soul R&B guy. The ink spots, the inspirations. Don't see the inspirations, the innocence, the intruders. There's In Excess. We were just talking about them. Great Aussie band. Picked up a nice picture sleeve of theirs last issue, or last episode, when I was in Italy. And Italy's, they do picture sleeves on most of their releases. It's a great song right here, What You Need. It's in pretty good shape. Yeah, I'll pick that one up. So it's the stuff I find in between the stuff I'm looking for that sometimes is the best. It's a nice picture sleeve. In Excess, if you remember, out of Australia, tragic ending for their lead singer, and I believe it was the Ferris brothers. There was 3 of them that made up most of the band. John Ferris did a lot of the Disappear was a later release. They were huge, especially right around 87. And they could have been bigger, I think, even. But it's like anything else. And there's Italia by Donnie Iris, who I was just talking about a minute ago. Love's Like a Rock, this was another big hit. If I can get a nice mint copy of that would be sort of cool. That one's very good plus. Be a good twofer. Love Is Like a Rock with Alia on the B side. That would be an incredible twofer, because those were like his 2 big hits, and then that was about it. Donnie Iris, Do You Compute? So that one didn't chart, I can almost guarantee you. Interesting picture sleeve though, look at that. Do You Compute by Donnie Iris. So that's when the computer scene was just starting, 1983. All right, Iron Butterfly. Boy. We're gonna have to get into the Iron Butterfly, the big one, is of course Inagata Devita, but it's too long to show up on a 45. That's a pretty nice looking record right there for $5. And it's appropriately priced. It looks like it might be in its what they call birth sleeve. So I might buy it. It's in great shape. Soul Experience. You know, it's not always the big hit that's the collectible record. That looks like a nice collectible record. I'm going to buy that. I already got the speech from the wife, not to take all day doing this, but I got a little flexibility. It's my birthday today, so. Burl Ives did a lot of Christmas songs, a lot of kids shows. Like a folk musician, a real sweet voice. There's Luther Ingram. How did he slip in there? Luther Ingram actually came out of the whole Memphis soul scene. Now, HIB, Axis Track. And I've got some of these. This big hit is If Loving You Is Wrong. And before the door sort of slammed on the whole Stax scene. And if you see right there, you got Stax. So this was like a Stax, that's Coco. If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. That was this huge hit. It's a great song. All right, now he goes over to Pride Records. And that's not Luther Ingram anymore either. All right, so we've got the invitations. The Isley Brothers, the Ivories, the Innocents. Got a lot of eyes. It's a cool looking label. Sometimes the A side. Some of these are misfiled, but maybe we'll get HI and J. J's a big one. A lot of artists with J. You say Jimmy, James, Jackie, but maybe not in Tim's filing system. All right, let's move on. Take that back. There are a lot of J's. So maybe we'll get halfway through J. Maybe we do half a letter. But we're working on I's. We're looking for Northern Soul. I'm just randomly working a list that someone gave me. I am not a Northern Soul expert. I am a record collector who stumbled upon a list of Northern Soul and got intrigued by the whole scene, the phenom, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's quite a genre, but maybe someone will correct me on that. This is the list. So we're working on I. And believe it or not, we've been through all the tab stuff, except for the Isley Brothers. So the one I'm looking for by the Isley Brothers is Tell Me It's Just a Rumor. And that's Tamla Motown. So that's probably that white label Motown. And Isley Brothers, Tell Me It's Just a Rumor. So here they are on Wand. Here they are on Tamla. Now I wonder if that's what he means by Tamla Motown, because that's Tamla, but this is listed Tamla Motown. I've never seen a label specifically Tamla. It's either Motown or Tamla. Tell Me It's Just a Rumor. So I'll look at each Tamla as if it's a Tamla, quote unquote, Motown. Take Me Out for Some Love. And if you guys don't like this, fast forward. I'll do a summary at the end of my gem of the week. If you do like it, or if you see something that I should have picked up, tag it, timestamp it, and say, at 11:05 you missed this record. Because when I go back through, I'm going to create a records that DetroitBob missed top 500. It'll probably be more like a 5,000 of them. All right, this is T-neck. So I got a lot of these T-neck Isley Brothers. And like I said, I'm going to keep talking to try to beat the copyright. Blackberries on T-neck. So we'll just go past the T-necks. Let's get you a decent angle here. Trying to get so you can see the label. This is a little tight, this box. And they show up on Isley Brothers. Isley Brothers, famous for Shout. And Twist and Shout also, they did. And if you haven't heard Isley Brothers do Twist and Shout, it's really interesting to see the infancy of their song and their version of it as compared to the Beatles. And how Beatles could take a soul song, essentially, and then change it into more like a pop song. Really, really morphed into, you know, something that was a little bit more radio friendly, I think. But I love the original, man. I'll tell you what, I used to put that on at the frat house, the original Twist and Shout by the Isley Brothers. And that got people going and dancing. A lot of the Beatles and the British Invasion artists used American Soul as their footprint. And a lot of these songs were reimagined, re-recorded, rewrote, invigorated, popped up, studioed up, and resold to us. When literally we could have somehow listened to the original and enjoyed it just as much, if not more. Freedom, back to a flayaway. I don't think I'm going to find it. Tell me it's just a rumor. Now, I've had people say, oh, you're never going to find any Northern Soul. I've already found over a dozen just in this shop. Open up your heart. There they are on RCA. So they've been on several different labels. T-neck, they seem to spill the wine on T-neck. Not really seeing it. Tell me it's just a rumor. Tam Lamota. It might be pretty rare. Chris Isaac. I love Chris Isaac. Somebody's Crying. Not my favorite. I got two of his albums. Forever Blue is one album I really like. Just mellow as hell. South of the Border type stuff. All right, let's get back into the generic letter I's. Maybe we'll catch one here. The Independents. I'm looking for the Imaginations, the Impressions, the Incredibles, Luther Ingram, the Inspirations, the Instrumental, Invitations, and the Isley Brothers. And let's not forget the Ivories. That's a 600-pound record. Isle of Man. I don't think they made it big over here. The Invisible Man's Band. Luther Ingram, there you go. Once again on that Coco. In 1970. And not as big hit. Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. But boy, did he have a big one with that. Went on to have a good career. The Independents. And here we go. See, now, like, I'm not talking as much. And so something will get picked up on the microphone. It'll get dinged on a copyright violation. And then I got to go back. I got to edit that out. So it's sort of a pain in the ass. So if it seems like I'm talking too much, it's just there's a method to my madness. That's a nice, clean-looking record. Let's see what the condition looks like on the inside. Very good. It's at least a very good plus, maybe a near mint. I might get that for $1. I don't think he's got a lot of high value on his stuff, but the Innocence, Imaginations, Imagination or Imaginations, Strange Neighborhood. That's a 400-pound record. I've got Isle of Man. I bought a couple of their records here. Idle Eyes. What the hell is that? Yvonne Iverson. The Innocents. Cool name. The Inmates. Dirty Water. I love that song. I would buy it, but this thing's pretty beat up. If I could get a good plus or a very good or a near mint, Dirty Water. They did a great. I think the Standells did it originally, but the Inmates did a great remake of it. Eye Level. We're getting to the end of the eyes here. That might be it. Might be a short episode. But you know I'm going to go over and look at Talking Heads, Bob Seger. We had a great interview with this DJ Dusty Stairs. We might even try to go see him tonight. And he's half of the R45 team. So the first time I met him. The Intruders. Boy, that's a cool looking label, isn't it? A DJ promo copy. I am. Siam. I don't think they made it big. The In Crowd. Great song, right? Ramsey Lewis. Well, here we go. Let's see what we got. I used to be able to do this for hours. I would go to Tom's Market here in town, and they had a record bin. There was a whole aisle. And I would start off with letter A and work through and read everything front and back of every album. And once again, I would remember where I left off. So next week when we came to do laundry, my mom and I, once everything was in the washers or in the dryers, I had time where I could go next door. And that's where I flipped through the records. If Loving You Is Wrong, that was the big hit. That's a well-played song right there. The Ivy League, Tossing and Turning on Cameo. I love this old Cameo. I couldn't sleep at all last night. Tossing and turning. Tossing and turning. Is that them? I'd buy it if it was in better shape. I think that's the song, Tossing and Turning. The Intrigues on You. Look at that. It's a nice looking record. Very good. Atco. Who's that? It's got New Wave. Industry. Not Ministry. Ministry was sort of like a techno metal band out of Chicago, I believe. They had a little run there at the clubs. Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. That's a very good shape. Getting to the end of the eyes here. The Independents. The Impacts. Interesting. Ikeettes. I wonder if they were affiliated with Ike Turner. You never know. Jimmy Interval. Just tossing and turning. That's a little rough too. Couldn't sleep at all last night. I might get that other version of Tossing and Turning. The Islanders. Autry Inman. The Ivy 3. I'm looking for the Ivories. Information Society. They had Instant Funk. That looks interesting. 1982. I'm just gonna buy it. I got 2 copies of it though. Illusion, Instant Funk on. Got the word funk in it. It's worth picking up. All right, that's it. Till next time. RPM Records right here in Traverse City, Michigan. What a great stop that was. We had some jamming tunes and back in the caddy because Detroit Bob doesn't mess around. And let's go get something to eat. All right, let's take a look at this cache of records that I got here from RPM. It's my favorite go-to. We'll start with Surfing Bird. Now, these are in the sun right now, and you're not supposed to put records in the sun, but for a couple seconds, I don't think it's going to hurt. So I'll take a close look at this label, and this is probably good plus, but I just sold one in good condition for like $3. So what I'm looking for is long instead of Will Long. That's the key, because I think that's the original release, and that's the signifier. Here it is. So the key on this is long on both sides instead of Will Long. And sure enough, this has it long. And then also this little apostrophe, I guess you could call it right there. And then the double apostrophe has to match. Now this is the orange label variation. So there's a red label, it's exactly the same. I just sold the red label. I'm gonna give it a good plus rating, and it's probably worth about anywhere from $5 to $10. I think I paid $4 for it. There you go, Surfing Bird with the orange label. I listed the writing on label with the long on both sides, the apostrophe, the double apostrophe, orange label variation. It says it's a $5.77 record. I listed it for $8. So there you go. Now this one caught my eye because Iron Butterfly, and I thought, oh, you know, Inagata DeVita, right? But I just seen Manship's tutorial on birth sleeves. And I'm like, well, this is definitely a company sleeve. But I tell you what, just the way that the record has shaped the sleeve and the condition of the record looks like it's never been out of the sleeve. I think this is a birth sleeve, which means the sleeve that the factory came out of the record came out of the factory with. So there you go. It's a company sleeve, but I believe it's also a birth sleeve. So let's take a look at the record, and then we'll also look it up and see what kind of value. Now, there you go. It's got a punch-out hole. The record is in, it doesn't look like it's been played. I mean, it's in near mint. There's some shelf wear, and up at the top edge there, but I don't think it's ever been played. And these guys were sort of heavy psychedelic metal. They're famous for Inagata DeVita, which there's no way you're going to fit on a 45. But if this is near mint and in a birth sleeve, I like my chances of this being a valuable record. Let's look it up. All right, so there you go. The key on this one was the SP right there, which is Specialty Records Pressing. I bought it for $5. I wrote that it has a sticker on the label and writing on the label, and then I put birth sleeve ? Because according to Manship's video, that adds value. Now it said in this condition, as listed, it was worth $11.33. I paid $5 for it. So you got to double your money on these. But I added $2 to the price because I think this is the birth sleeve, which means the sleeve it came out of the factory with. So there you go, $13.33 for a $5 record. It's for sale if you want it on Discogs, DetroitBob, RockMine. So we have 96 Tears by Question Mark and the Mysterious. Oh, that's a jukebox classic. Out of Flint, Michigan. And great story there. And B-side, Can't Get Enough of You Baby on this ABCO. Now this is a reissue, but that interested me because that song was picked up later. What was the name of the band? They did Hey Now You're an All-Star. But they had a pretty big hit with I Can't Get Enough of You Baby. It's a great song. And how do you follow up 96 Tears? So it's a jukebox copy, and I got it for $3. So let's take a little closer look at it and see if it's got any value. DetroitBob, back at you. This is ABCO. I think that was Alan Klein. It seems to me he bought up a lot of old catalogs. I think he had the Stones catalog at one point, and he was releasing some old unissued stuff on ABCO. There's about 4 different versions of this. They all tend to be mono on both sides. I rated it at very good. It said for sale to sell it for $4.33 or $4.30. I paid $3 for it. I listed it for $6. I really don't want it to sell because I think this is going to go in my jukebox. 96 Tears. When the B-52s sing about 96 Tears being in the jukebox, you know it needs to be in the jukebox. So there you go. I picked up 2 copies of this, and Instant Funk. I got my mind made up. 1978 Soul. I don't know what it is, but it just looked cool to me. I think it's $1, so I picked up 2 copies of it. Let's see if it's worth anything. All right, I thought I had 2 different records. Soul label. And I got these for $1 a piece. One for sale for $3, the other is $4.16. So very good, almost very good plus, but I probably undergraded them at very good.
Why did I buy them? It just had the right feel. It got a Parliament Funkadelic feel from the label. The word funk is in the band. You know, just seems like it's in that wheelhouse of chic Ohio players, like late 70s soul. So I'm like, yeah, for $1, I'm picking them up, and you know, already 3 times or 4 times my purchase price. I'm happy with that purchase. Next up, we have on Atlantic Records, What You Need by NXS. This is a huge mega hit for them. On Atlantic, always look here, that little SP that tells you the printing plant, those specialty records. Sometimes you'll see a PL, that's plastic products. But Atlantic, still in business in the 80s, even though I believe they had been bought out by that time. Nice picture sleeve. That's why I got it. Caught my eye. So these guys were cool. Hutchins is the lead singer, and Ferris, I think Andrew was the one that wrote a lot. B side of the picture sleeve, very cool. This guy on sax was pretty good too. So I think the 3 Ferris brothers, the sax guy, and Hutchins were the band. So there you go. Let's look it up. Go NXS, What You Need. No wonder I bought it. I already have 3 copies. But it's Atlantic, but it's at this point, Atlantic is owned by Warner Brothers, it looks like. So in the early days, you would not have seen that at the very end. A Warner Communication Company. So Atlantic was sold at one point, and it became part of Warner Brothers. So Atlantic, you know, I think Ray Charles was on Atlantic. Led Zeppelin, a lot of the old soul stars were too. They had a lot of Stax artists crossed over to Atlantic. But there you go. And the algorithm must be messed up because it says it's $9. This is about a $3 record. But I listed it for $9 anyways. All right, next up. As the door was sort of closing on the whole Stax phenomena, and I say that loosely because they were cranking out great stuff all the way through the 70s, but I think the company was having financial problems. But Luther Ingram, If Loving You Is Wrong. And this is a little Stax subsidiary, I believe. Look, you're looking the fine print. There you go, right down there at the bottom. Stax Records, right there. So 73, taken from the LP, If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. So this is probably the second hit off that LP. But that was his mega hit in album of the same name. So this thing looked really clean, and the price was right. Let's see if it has any value. The A side is very good plus. The B side's a little scuffed up. And it's hard to grade these in direct sunlight. And normal grading, I have a certain lamp, and I've graded in bright sunlight, and I got back and I'm like, oh man, I overgraded. So I tend to undergrade when I'm doing these on the couch at the cottage. Oh, it's a $4 record. So as you classify these in Discogs, you got to get into the screen where you can see the release, and then you can plug in label. So Coco on the label, USA. And then it just starts narrowing it down. I got down to where there was only 4 possibilities, and 2 of them were a promo. This wasn't a promo. So then it was this and another one, and you look at the font, and it matched both on the A and the B side. So a lesser known release, a $4 record that I paid $1 for. So, you know, you would rather have a $40 record that I paid $1 for, but you know, you got to go with it. The best part about Traverse City is the view of the bay. So after a long day of looking for Northern Soul and vinyl records, we come to a place called Harrington's by the Bay. Great place to have a meal and a drink.
All right, back at it. I'm about an octave lower because I went out and celebrated my birthday last night. But this is another one that I believe is in its birth sleeve. So if you look at the Atlantic group, you got Atlantic Records, and it's stapled right here. And you can't get past that record out of there without breaking that staple. So that's a good sign. And these are the reissue oldies series Atlantics, but there's some good twofers. So Walkin' the Dog by Rufus Thomas, that's a good song. I tell you what, I think I first heard that when the Stones covered it on more Hot Rocks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the B-side, I think he just came with a follow-up, The Dog. But Rufus Thomas was a DJ in Memphis, and he just walked into Atlantic and is with his daughter, Carla Thomas, and they cut an early hit, and then Carla had that B-A-B-Y baby hit, and Rufus did Walking the Dog. I think he came back later and did The Funky Chicken. He had a deep, sort of gravelly voice. So that's a great twofer. And I opened it up earlier, and it was in great shape. Let's look it up. All right. I listed it as mint. I looked at the record, and it was in great shape. Bought it for $2. Very good listing on the birth sleeve. I said birth sleeve in the listing. So it said to charge $7.60, but I charged $12. So I added the premium for the birth sleeve. So $2 for sale for $12. Tea Garden and Van Winkle. Why did I pick this up? Well, I know they played with Bob Seger. So, and I think they're local Michigan guys. And they had a brief run. So let's look this up. God, Love, and Rock and Roll. Back with Work Me Tomorrow. Take a look at it. All right. I was able to see that little T up top there above the G in the dead wax. T-I-I-I or T-I-I. That's Terre Haute. So that's a Terre Haute pressing. And it's got a sticker on the label. It's a $3 record for sale. I had another copy of it, but it was another pressing. So there you go. Same record, but different label. God, Love, and Rock and Roll. It says We Believe underneath the title on that one. This is Plum Records. You don't see this very often. The B-side is Work Me Tomorrow. And I noticed the vinyl is really sort of thin. So it's like flexing real easy. So it seems to be like a cheaper pressing, but it might be more rare. Let's look it up. So there you go. The more rare or obscure pressing, which in this case there's only one Plum with a yellow label. Even though it's the same song, A and B, different spelling. It's a $7 record. So not bad for $1. Here's that band Ice House. And they were hitting the MTV airwaves pretty hard about 87, 88. And my wife at the time had free MTV somehow. So I was watching a lot of MTV when I should have been studying. But it's a demo, white label. Let's look it up and see what it's worth. Great song. All right, there you go, Ice House. I think the name sort of hurt them. You know, Ice House. You know, not the best band name. If they would have a clever band name, I think they would have done a lot better. But sticker on label, I listed it for, it's a $4 record. All right, I drifted over into the jazz section, and there you go. Gats Gilberto, the girl from Ipanema, and Astrid Gilberto on lead vocals. Sort of her debut, and it's probably the most heard or sold jazz record of all time. So let's look it up. It probably printed 1 million of these, but pretty good clean copies. Got a little scratch over here by my thumb. Probably gonna knock it down into the very good category. Let's look it up. All right, so you want to get eventually into the see all releases screen when you look these up on Discogs. And then you can enter format, which is just put 7-inch in. And country, which is US. You can see the USA on the label. After a while, you can just tell US labels from European. You don't really have to worry about year. But if it says the year very clearly, put it in. Just be careful with the year, because sometimes it'll have 2 different years and you zero out the year you're looking for. Great record, $6.75, even in very good condition. B-side is probably just sax version of Blowing in the Wind by Dylan, but that doesn't hurt it either. So there you go, great record for $1, worth $6. Now this one's sort of a wild card. It's got the hard cover, like an LP. and it's colorful. I've never heard of this group. It's got some water damage. Let's take a look at it. Here's the record itself. It looks like an EP. So yeah, designed for repeated listening. New York City, walking the bluegrass. Interesting. And on this side we have a couple other songs. Green grow the lilacs, and I looked for love. Hootenanny. And Robin and the Folk Stringers. Looks like a promo. Who knows? 1963 EP, which means it's got those extra songs. In this case, it's got 4 songs. I listed it at Very Good Plus. It's in pretty good condition, but it's a $5 record for $1. Hootenanny, if you remember, was also the name of a Replacements LP. But I think when you got together and jammed with all your folk buddies, it was called a hootenanny. It's probably something from the South. A hootenanny, just to get together and stomp and play your stringed instrument. There you go.
Here it is all the way from Italy. And I tell you what, Radiation Records was great. We went to the wrong shop, if you remember. And I still got some great picture sleeves. I got Otis Redding, and I got some NXS. I got some 80s stuff. And I got a really good King Curtis one, though. Now, this is pretty well shipped. I read all the stickers. It looks like all the duties and tariffs have been paid and properly taken care of. But look at this, man. This is international shipping. First time I've ever ordered anything from Italy. And they were really good about it. I called them. Oh, and they threw in some stuff. Look at this. Stickers. All this record store day stuff. Some kind of disco CD there. And remember, Radiation Records. There they are. Let's see what we got. And it's really taped in here real good. I was a little worried about international shipping, but it looks like they used an album shipper or a 33 1/3 to sort of tape it in there. And this is sort of what they call floating. Wow. Try not to trash it, right? Okay, so what did we get in our bag of tricks? Oh, look at that. Now this is very, very cool, and I'll tell you why. Because it's Bob Dylan in the original picture sleeve of Like a Rolling Stone, backed with Positively 4th Street. Is that a gem or what? Let's open it up. I'm gonna preemptively call this our gem of the week. Look at how clean that is. Wow. And I checked it out online. There you go, Positively 4th Street. I'm calling it a near mint. They said Very Good Plus. And this is an investment piece right here. The Dylan movie really did well. And when I was at RPM during this episode, you may even have heard me talk about it with DJ, what's his name? The Dylan sales have been through the roof. But look at this. William Bell with Judy Clay. Private number, backed with Baby Specializes. My Baby Specializes. Stacks his soul. The beauty of the Italian picture sleeve is that it just pops right there. Is that awesome or what? So I'm going to call it right here. Gem of the Week, Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone with Positively 4th Street. But it's a real close second to the William Bell. And you know I'm going to use that hairdryer trick to get that little sticker off there. Another great edition of RockMine. Gem of the Week. Make sure you subscribe. Tell people about it. If you love great American soul, garage rock, and 60s classics on 45, you're at the right place.